แล้วก็จะมาถึงประเทศไทยแล้วจะไปไต้หวันต่อนะคะภาพยนตร์สั้น8เรื่องที่ได้โชว์ไปที่เราได้ดูไปข้างบนเนี่ยนะคะก็เป็นงานที่ทำมาตั้งแต่ยุคปี199อะไรสักอย่างซึ่งทำมาตั้งแต่ยุค80แล้วเนี่ยนะคะก็จะแนะนำคุณเนลสัน เฮนริกซ์ว่าเป็นศิลปินที่ใช้สื่อภาพยนตร์ดนตรีและเท็กซ์บทประพันธ์รวมทั้งเป็นพันธารักษ์ของงานตัวเองด้วยค้นคว้าศึกษาหัวข้อเรื่องการเป็นมนุษย์ในสังคมบริโภคนิยมในสังคมเมืองโดยเล่นของคอนเซ็ปต์ของเวลาสถานที่ด้วยนะคะแล้วก่อนที่จะออกทัวร์ของ Images Festival เนี่ยนะคะคุณเนลสันก็ได้ทำนิทรรศการที่มอนทรีออลจัดรวมงานตลอดระยะเวลา15 ปีของเขาเลยโดยสื่อที่ได้เริ่มเล่นตอนนี้นะคะก็เป็นการโชว์ภาพผ่านสื่อหลายๆจอเป็นการทอรวมซิงโครไนซ์เสียงและภาพเข้าหากันให้เป็นงานองค์รวมใหม่ๆนะคะ Would you like to introduce anything about your work or your films?
Yeah, I could actually. Give you your list here for a second. Hi everybody. Thanks for coming out on a Sunday afternoon to watch experimental video. You guys are my heroes. So what we've been doing on this trip is showing this program. And what I usually do after the program is I just talk a bit about some of the videos and soundtracks by people like B.B. Barron for Forbidden Planet, and how we really do kind of in a way associate electronic music with science fiction. Because, like the general public does, like if they hear really experimental music, their way of kind of classifying it would be like in science fiction. But I was interested in also like looking at all different kinds of electronica, like sort of like glitchy music that was coming out of Germany, and then also like hip hop and kind of dance music, and then all kind of came together in Planetarium. And then Failure, I just appropriated from a bunch of different sources for different reasons. Like the Nina Simone song just seems so sad. Like it just seemed like the saddest music I'd ever heard, and it kind of becomes funny to me because it's so sad. Like what I'm doing seems really ridiculous because the music is so sad. And then the Serge Gainsbourg thing was just funny because I kind of get Jane Birkin to say that she's me. And then the Pavement thing was kind of like a little dance that I did to that song often at home. So I kind of thought it was so good that it just shouldn't stay at home.
So the styles and aesthetics of your visuals is definitely kind of influenced by the music that you shows as well.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean,
the style you develop.
Yeah, but I mean, I try to also like really vary the style of the work from one piece to the next. Like I don't really like to be pinned down stylistically. But what I notice more is like looking at the work today, it seems fairly consistent to me stylistically. But I think like Crash, I was really interested in working with like again like sort of classical experimental film aesthetics. I saw like a very amazing program of work by Jonas Mikas at Oberhausen, and I'd done a couple experimental film courses at Concordia when I was a student there, and I was just interested in using that as kind of a visual lexicon, because there was something about it I felt that kind of was maybe a bit timeless in a way, like it wouldn't date stamp really easily. For Time Passes, it's really about like the time-lapse footage that I like. That was really the hook there for me. And with Planetarium, it was just about creating something that was very eclectic, like something that really felt like the kind of like the diversity of textures that you get when you're watching TV, or maybe when you're like channel surfing on YouTube or something. I mean, like just kind of like something that was really kind of fragmented stylistically, but there was a kind of a unity in that as well, which was kind of color and plastic, like plastic as a texture, and kind of fakeness, you know. Fakeness was the thing there.
But you were trying to explore about the cosmos and the galaxy and how people address really big issues within their imagination.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of thinking about a planetarium as a dome, and your head is a dome. And so, like, this would be like a movie that could be happening in the planetarium that is your mind. And I think also, like, I was interested in working with science fiction as a genre convention and UFOs in particular. And I can't really remember why I wanted to work with UFOs and outer space. No, I didn't see any. No, but I think it was maybe because maybe UFOs and ufology kind of represent a certain utopianism as well. Like, we can wreck the Earth, but the aliens will come and save us. Or, I mean, I think also, like, there's this kind of idea that we don't really believe in angels anymore, but we believe in extraterrestrials. And aliens are kind of like angels for us now. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway.
This doesn't have anything to do with Scientology.
No. But I mean, it ties into that for sure. Yeah, I mean, what kind of historical moment invents a religion like Scientology? And I guess it's our historical moment. Yeah, our expectations. And I mean, I think that that's really a part of the world that we live in. So, yeah.
And since your artistic explorations have spanned over a decade, exploring really wide issues of identity and social topics, have society moved on from those issues, or do you feel like we're more drowned into it? Have the questions been answered?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think in the 80s in Canada, there was a lot of really socially and politically motivated work that was really about a politics of identity. So it wasn't about big political issues, like sort of social issues that might be connected to labor movements, for example, like something like socialism. But they were more connected to a politics of identity, so like feminism, for example, and gay and lesbian art, and then also art that was coming from various cultural communities that was sort of combating racism and xenophobia. And I think by the time the 90s came around, a lot of the really important work that needed to be done around racism and homophobia and HIV and AIDS had been done really, really well. And new directors who were coming along, who maybe were coming from a specific cultural community, or who were queer, or who were HIV positive, really didn't have a lot more to say on those issues. And I think especially for maybe a lot of queer artists, and for a lot of artists of color, like artists who were coming from a specific racial background, they actually felt a bit trapped by those discourses. And it's like, as a queer artist, the only thing you can do is make videos where you say homophobia is wrong. And that kind of becomes a bit of like, it becomes a bit stereotypical. I think people who were making interesting work at that period were artists who had like a complex identity, like say they were Asian and queer, or something like that. And they had this kind of double identity that would make the work very complex and very interesting, and that kind of discussion of identity from those perspectives was really important. So I think that my work, maybe if there's a political or a social aspect to it, it's more from that 90s perspective of maybe like standing on the shoulders of a lot of people who'd already done a lot of amazing work around identity. They really give us a lot of freedom to criticize and explore issues of identity in a complex way. But do I think that work is over? No, I don't really, because I think certainly feminism, like I think women and queers and people of color are still discriminated against in Canada. I think once you get out of major cities, I think those problems are even worse. And I think once you get outside of Canada and you get into certain countries, some of which we visited on this trip, you realize that the situation for like gays and lesbians and for other minorities is very, very difficult. And I think just in terms of solidarity and supporting people who maybe live in areas where they live under restrictive regimes, we really do have to keep supporting and sustaining more politically based work, you know, and not render those arguments too fragile.
So you think that the films that you've shown today, any one or ones in particular, are more relevant to Thailand or the regional Asian countries that you've come through in this tour?
You know, I think that would be a question that the audience could answer or you could answer better than I can. I sort of feel like watching the videos here, I think people respond to the acupuncture section in Planetarium, which seems to read really differently here than it does in Canada. But I think people kind of laugh, which I think is great. And I think for some reason the moon here really works differently. Like people, I don't know where we were, but it was kind of like maybe it was in Jakarta. People were going like, oh, the moon. And I don't really know. I don't know why. And I think also like the images of just Canada, like how bizarre Canada is, like all the snow and there's no leaves on the trees. Maybe people find that really exotic too, like the snow. I don't know.
Do you feel like your films are more exotic here now that you've watched them in Asia?
Well, yeah, but I mean that's always like a funny question because like how much of it is me projecting and how much of it is genuine? And I guess it's like me doing a lot of projection, you know. It's funny when I showed my work in Senegal a couple of years ago, and I have a video called Comedy that wasn't in this program, but after the screening was over, people, the Africans who were present asked questions about the films, and this one woman said, "Why is this video called Comedy?" And I said, well, because it's funny. But in Africa, it wasn't really funny at all. And I think it just showed, like cultural frameworks for reading work are really, really different. And we bring all kinds of history and baggage with us when we enter the screening room. Like we bring a whole history with us that really biases how we look at stuff.
So during this tour, have you kind of been so inspired and researching so much that you might return to Montreal and perhaps create a film about us, about the Asian region?